Okay, now let's start off with looking at barron test find. Okay, question 11. Now, how to find the stand? Before you want to find the largest SD, you must learn the formula for SD. Okay, formula SD would be standard deviation. Okay, standard deviation. Change the color. So standard deviation is equal to square root, and then the sum I, it's too small to do it. Actually, standard deviation equal to square root the summation of I equal to 1 all the way until n, I equal to n, and this is x I minus, this is the average or the means of the three numbers. You square here and then divided by n minus 1. Okay, now just to do one example, first of all, let's do the A. This one is the means. Okay, so what you do is x bar is equal to 2 plus 7 plus 15 divided by 3. Okay, so that will give you 9 is 24 over 3. You got an 8. Okay, 9, 24. Okay, so basically it's square root. Now let's consider I equal to 1 first. I equal to 1, the first term is 2. 2 minus 8. Now, then you got a square. Okay, then you got a summation, that means you add. Then 7 minus 8 square plus 15 minus 8 square. And then remember, divided by how many terms? 1, 2, 3. So it's 3 minus 1. Okay, if you want to compare the standard deviation, you have to do each of them in order to obtain the standard deviation. But actually, you do not need to go through this step. How? Now let's look at the difference here. This 5, this 8, this 4, this 7, this 2, this 5, this 1, 1, this 0, 0. Okay. If you compare the difference for each of it, you notice that A have the highest difference. Okay, so the answer basically is A. Okay. Okay, now how to find this question? How to solve this? 17. Now first of all, you got to find x. So basically 0 times 5 x times 5, and then pi over 2 times 5. Then you give you 0 pi x, and then it is 2.5 pi. Okay, in other words, when you look for the values with the basic angle, you must check until 2 pi is 360. That means you must check until 360 plus half pi, which is 90. So 360 plus 90, you must check until. Basically means you have to check from 0 to 360, plus you must check from 360 until here. Okay, so this is 360 plus another 90. This one start with 360. This one end at 360. So these are the domain is must check. Now let's look at tangent phi x equal to 3. Okay, so basic angle is equal to tangent arc 3. Okay, now okay, now so you got, let's find the value in terms of radian, since this domain is given as radian. Okay, so the basic angle is 1.25. Remember this is in radian. Okay, now therefore phi x is equal to, wait, before that you must check which quadrant the angle is. Now you go back to the original, is positive, right? So it's here, that is for 0 to 360. Okay, then on top of that you must check from 360. Okay, remember 2 pi is 360, so these are area where you have the possible answer. Then from here onwards also 2 pi plus 90 degree, so it's up to here. So here also you have to consider. Okay, now so it's phi x equal to 1.25. The first basic angle 1.25 plus this is 180 plus the basic angle, which is pi plus 1.25. Okay, now then this one is 360, which is 2 pi, and then plus this basic angle again 1.25. Okay, so basically the angle you consider is here, basic angle from here to here. The second basic angle is from here all the way to here. Okay, that's why it is 180 plus this basic angle, pi plus 125. Then after that, from 360 to here, basic angle again. So it's 2 pi, which here is 2 pi, and then add the basic angle again, so it's 1.25. Okay, so x become 1.25 divided by 5, and then pi plus 1.25 divided by 5, and then 2 pi plus 1.25 equal to divided by pi. Okay, now what is the value of tangent? So what you have to do is you have to find this value. Okay, this is 0.25. So you have to do some calculation. 1.25 plus pi divided by 5, then you got 0.878, and you got 32 plus 1.25, then divide by 5. So what you get is 1.506. Therefore, tangent of these three values, okay, let's see what you get. Make sure your calculator is set to radian, okay? See, all this is radian. So tangent 0.25 we got 0.255. Okay, now the other one, tangent 0.878, we get 1.20. Then tangent 1.506, tangent 1.506, got 15.4. Okay, now if you look at all the answer here, which is the most appropriate answer? Okay, 0.25, there's none. Okay, the 15.4, there's none, there's more than 2. And this one 1.2, so the most likely answer is this. Okay. Oh, sorry. Oh, I see the wrong place. So 0.255, 0.3, 1.2. Okay, so the most appropriate answer would be 0.3. Okay. Now, okay, let's find this composite function f g. Okay, f g would be 3 over the x here is replaced by square root x plus 1. Okay, now 3 over x plus 1 equal to minus 2. Now, what is the domain of this function? Okay, what is the x value that what is the x value that make the function f defined? Okay, so we want to find, if we can find the asymptote, then we will be able to define the domain. Now, bear in mind this cannot be, let's put this as y first. Okay, now first of all, this cannot be 0, right? So x plus 1 minus 2 plus, let's find if it's equal to 0, what happened? Now, so square root x plus 1 equal to 2, square both sides, x plus 1 equal to 4, so x equal to 4 minus 1 will give you a 3. Okay, now, so first thing is, if x become 3, then this whole thing become 0. Okay, so first requirement is x cannot become 0. Now, look at the square root here. The square root here. So x plus 1 cannot be minus 1. Okay? X plus 1 cannot be a negative value. So another second thing you have to consider this. Step 1. Step 2. X plus 1. Here this x1 must be more than or equal to 0. Okay? Square root 0 is still acceptable. So equal to 0 or more than 0. So x become minus 1. Okay? Now, so there's two conditions here. X cannot be equal to 0 or x. Okay, let's look at this. So there's two answers which have this. Oh, sorry. Oh, teacher made a mistake here. This should not. This should be. It should be 3. Okay. Now, so you combine these two together. X equal to 3. So these are the two conditions. So you look at it, the answer would be D. Okay? Now, let's look at this question. Let's look at, let's sketch this. Okay, look at y equal to sine x first. Y equal to sine x. Okay. Now, what is the sine x? What we get is like that. Here is 2 pi. Here is 1. We got a minus 1 here. Now, if I square it, as far as concerned, the maximum value is 1. You square it, 1 times 1 is still 1. If 0 times 0 is still 0. So the highest point, lowest point, and the x-intercept at 0 still remain the same. But the curvature of this will be slightly different. Okay? Now, then if you add 1 to it, means actually you move the whole thing up. So let's use a different color. Put a black one. Now, if you move up by 1, that means the graph actually become like that. Okay? And then your mid-axis is with a 1 in. Now, so you since this consider the negative side, then negative will be here. Okay. Now, so he's asking you to find somewhere here and here. Okay. So this is pi over 4. This is minus pi over 4. So asking you, if this is a graph square root, oh, you have to square root it. But then if you square root it, taking the positive of square root, then it still follows the same shape, it will be lower. Okay? This will be 2. Okay? So if you square root 2, it will be 1.4 something. So the graph will be somewhere, it will be lower a bit, okay? Lower a bit. And you square root it. Now, the important thing is this. The important thing is it's asking within this domain, what is the maximum value? The maximum you can see obviously is when pi is equal to 4. So in other words, to find the value for the maximum value of the function, we should substitute with pi over 4. Okay, let's repeat again. If you consider from minus pi over 4 to minus pi over 4 to pi over 4 is this path here. And at which point you have the maximum value is the pi over 4. So you substitute in the function x equal to pi over 4. So square root 1 plus sine pi over 4. You square it again. Then what you get is square root 1 plus 1 over square root 2. You square it again. Now, so what you get is actually is 1 over 2, so the add up is 3 over 2. Okay. Then after that, what you do is 1.5. You square root 1.5. You get 1.22. Okay. So this is equal to 1.22. Okay. So it's this answer. Okay, next this one. 4 2x is this. So 4x will be basically what it's saying is what it's saying the x become this 2x. Right, as we do this. What it's saying is initially x is actually 2x, okay? Now if you make x equal to x, when x equal to 2x you get this. So when x equal to x, then this become, oh sorry, x become 2, the x is 2x, so when x equal to now let's look at this question over here. Okay, assuming we have this, you pick this, why obviously if you x become 2x, then this become 4x squared, you cancel off, you get this. Okay, so now if you say fx is this, when you change the x to become 2x, so this become 2x squared, it's cancelled, you get this. So this is the answer. Okay, now another way of looking at it is if the x actually 2x, okay, you get this x squared minus x plus 3. Okay, now what happens if your x become 2, you got an x. Okay, this fx means your x become x over 2, then only you can get x. So in other words, your x all change to x over 2 square x over 2 plus 3, so become x squared over 4 minus x over 2 plus 3. Okay, now let's look at this question here. let's start out with f1 equal to 3. Okay, so f2, which one do we use? Do you use this or this? This is the previous term. What it's saying is this f2, so we look at the f1. If the f1 is even number, then your f2 you use this. If your f1 is equal to odd number, then your f2 you use this. Now, so f1 is an odd number. So now we're finding f2. Okay, n is 2. Add 2 minus 1 is f1. Okay, so this one is actually odd. Okay, so therefore 2 minus 1, n is 2. Okay, so this n 2 minus 1 is n f1, which is odd, so I have to use this. So it's equal to 3 times the first term. This is n is equal to 2, then this is n minus 1, so this is f1, so this is 3 plus 1 gives you 10. So this is even. Now f3, now f3, if n equal to 3, we have to look at, this is 3 minus 1, so we have to look at the f2. Okay, now f2 is even. So f2 is even, then we have to stick with this. So it's f2, which is 10. This is f2. Okay, this 2. 3 minus 1 gives you 2, divided by 2. That gives you this 10 over 2. This becomes 5. Now it becomes odd. Okay, so f4, since f3 is odd, so I'm going to use this. So it's 3 times f3, which is 15, plus 1, which gives you 16. So this is even again. So when you find f5, if f4 is even, then I'm going to use this. I mean f5 minus 1 over 2, which is f4 over 2, so it's 16 over 2 gives you 8. So this answer. Now what we're going to do is we start out with y equal to x. Okay, now let's say there is a translation go on. The graph actually moves toward the right, so become y x plus, sorry, so it's moved toward the right, then we put a negative a. We do not know how many value, what's the value, but if you put a minus a, means it moves toward the right. Then plus b, then it actually move up by b. Okay, now so this one, if you expand a, so we understand a means it go to the right by a unit. If plus a b means the graph go up by b units. Okay, now we're going to expand this. X squared minus 2ax plus a squared plus b. Okay, now let's compare this with this. X squared minus 2ax plus a squared plus b. We do not know the a value, but we're going to compare against this, the final function after the translation. Now let's compare the x term. So you got minus 2a is minus 6. That will give you a equal to 3. Okay, cancel off the negative. Now let's compare the constant. A squared plus b equal to k. Okay, now so a is 3, so this is 9 plus b equal to K. Therefore, V is equal to K minus 9. So we know the value of A, also the value of B in terms of K. So basically, A is 3. That means the graph moved toward the right by 3. Okay, move toward the right by 3 units. Then it go up by K. B is going up, plus B is going up. So it go up by K minus 9. The confusion for this type of question is, you see, this answer here is in terms of radian. The angle is in terms of radian. Sine up, so this answer here is the angle but in terms of radian. But the complication comes because this one cosine 100 degree. This is in degree. So you have a calculator where you have to switch between degree and radian. Okay? Now, to prevent this switching, what we're going to do is we're going to do it this manner. Sine up, cosine. I'm going to convert this into radian so that the calculator do not need to switch in between and cause a lot of confusion. So 100 degree divided by 180 times pi. Okay? So this is actually equal to this, same as this. I said now I already convert this into radian. Okay, if this radian, that means when you are calculating this value, after that when you calculate the sine arc, they are all in radian. So you don't need to switch between. So this is equal to sine minus 1 sine arc. Let's calculate these values in terms of radian. Now your calculator has been set to radian. And when you do the sine arc, you also in radian. Why? Because these values is all in radian.
Daniel 啊 ，Daniel， 喂，揸架車翻嚟啊，嗰度哈哈。
Okay, so this becomes cosine 5/9 pi. Okay, so next step, since it is in radian already, so your calculator is set to radian mode, so we will just use cosine 5 divided by 9 times pi. You got a value of minus 0.17, okay, 174. Now, so I'm going to use because the answer here is radian, so my calculator is reset to radian, so I just continue to use the calculator without switching the mode. Okay, so now sine arc, press the answer key inside. I got a value of minus 0.17. So it's minus 0.1745 dot dot dot. So the closer to that, to all these answer here will be minus 0.2. Okay, so that's it.